how do you get somebody to be a millionaire in motorsports? Well, you got to start with
what were some of the other keys to growth? I mean, 10x, more than 10x growth.
Cody Webb bike giveaway, which I've been able to turn over at least 15,000 pieces of key data in a segment that they really want.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Marketing on Mars, a show where we put hot shot marketers on the hot seat for marketing. And we're going to be talking about a lot of hot topics today. We're going to be starting off with some hot sauce. But before we do that, let me introduce Brian Cram. He's currently the Chief Marketing Officer at Sherco Motorcycles. Sherco Motorcycles is a premium off-road motorcycle company based in Nimes, France, with over 120 importers worldwide and sponsored by major companies like Red Bull, Progressive Insurance, and Motul. But we'll get into that later. First, Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Simon. I really appreciate it. And this is
some hot sauce too?
This is the interesting. Yeah. I mean, I haven't opened this one. I'm going to try it. It's El Yucateco, which translates to someone from the Yucatan Peninsula. So it
Cool.
is a
Do you
hot
know what's in
habanero.
there?
Just
Hot habanero.
water, habanero peppers, and tomato and salt. And that's the ingredients. So
That's all you need.
we'll
So I
find
got
out.
the same as last time. It's a Carolina Reaper pepper, which is, I think it's like a couple of notches higher than the habanero, but
Yeah.
both expensive. So you're cracking up open to see.
You know, I'm a little disappointed in our supermarket being in Central Texas. You know, you're going with a spoon. I'm going straight from the bottle.
You're going straight from the bottle. Nice.
I'm going to go straight from the bottle, and it's a wide mouth, so it's going to come out pretty aggressively here. So
You're a spicy eater.
you know, I was looking for like the Scoville scale and all this. It's just such a generic product. I'm about to find out how hot this is. If it is, it's just habanero, so it's not super bad. So cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
Okay, here we go. Okay. It's got a bit of kick to it.
Oh my God. Oh,
but good
God.
flavor though. This one was a good flavor. So I commend you for the.
There's definitely no flavor in this one.
Oh,
It's just straight spice.
no, this has a lot of spices. I'd call it a medium burn for me. Not,
Yeah, it's definitely burning me right now.
okay, yeah. Well, if you had Ghost, yeah, no. Or no, Carolina Reaper?
Carolina Reaper, which is next. I think it goes Ghost and then
Carolina.
my God.
Yeah, you're crazy. Okay. No,
It
my
does
store
not
didn't even
get
have
easy.
that. Yeah, we didn't even have that. We had El Yucateco was the hottest I could find. Oh,
So my face is going to be like this for the next 20 seconds. So bear
I've got
with
my
me.
tongue starting to numb a little bit. Not you're on a next level right there.
Okay, it looks like
But what
I'm
a way
on the
to
hot
kick it
seat
off.
now. So
Way to kick it off.
way to kick it off. So let's.
Little
I want to learn a little bit more about you while my tongue heals. So you've worked with some pretty cool projects and companies. Starting off, you worked at the Houston Rockets.
I did.
That's really cool. That's a
Yeah.
cool way to start your career. And then you worked for a lot of different sports brands and athletic brands, and now you're working at like a premium motorcycle company, sponsorships by major companies. Just walk me through your career and just the cool things that you've done in the world of marketing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Simon. So sorry, a little tongue tied here. So as a kid, I had read a book called Baseball Lives, and in that was a description of jobs in the baseball industry, from the groundskeeper on up to front office to a baseball agent. So I wanted to be the baseball agent, and graduated from college. I had a degree in sports studies with a believe it or not, they created a minor in player agency, and I went and got an internship with a baseball agent. And I immediately said, I do not want to be that guy. I want to be the opposite. I want to be on the front office side. And luckily for me, I was able to secure a very entry-level job with the Houston Rockets right after they won back-to-back championships. And they had just started the WNBA franchise, the Houston Comets. So that was my way in. I sold tickets, and I really, excuse me, I really didn't have the personality to be, talking on the phone. And it surprised my mother. She was like, really, you're going to be doing that? And it was a great foray into the sports marketing world. And to your point, I've spent the majority of my career in the stick and ball side of things. I quickly decided that side of the business wasn't of interest to me, to just stay in ticket sales. My dad's a graphic designer, brand marketer, and I wanted to do the brand side of things with sports teams. I wanted to do the marketing side. So I applied for a job at the Houston Rockets, and I was denied. And so it spurred me forward. And I looked for those positions in which I could grow my career. And I got my first job in sponsorship sales with the Texas A&M Sports Network for the football and basketball programs. This is sort of the start of, okay, you're selling sponsorships, but you have to act as a marketer, because you can't just take a check and say, oh, I hope this solution works for you. We have to make sure so we have the return. And then sort of my first big foray was when I was hired to be the head of the sponsorship department for the Houston Dynamo Major League Soccer team. And there I was proud to say that we'd have 96, 97, 98% renewal rate during my tenure, which was saying that we were providing results for these brands, for jersey sponsors are spending multi-millions of dollars per year to founding sponsors of the team, et cetera. So really kind of a growth period for me. And then I was recruited to come to Austin, Texas, which is a great town, by the way, if you've never been. And I started with the Circuit of the Americas, similar role in a sponsorship position, and now exposing myself to some of the biggest brands in the world through Formula One and MotoGP and IndyCar racing and all these big motorsports properties. And so I educated myself quickly, and it's happened to be where I was pitching a sponsorship to who is now the owner of Sherco USA and another company that he owned. And I saw the Sherco brand in his hat. And I said, what is this Sherco thing? And, this was May of 2019. And I would call myself an avid motorsports person. I had no idea who the brand was. So I looked him up, and we had a conversation. 3 weeks later, I was hired and heading up marketing for Sherco on the original equipment manufacturing side. So the main business side. And then our race team, as you referred to earlier, Factory One Sherco, I'm responsible for the brand partnerships alongside of the race team. We are led by a very famous rider named Cody Webb. He's a Red Bull athlete, and hence the Red Bull connection. So that's I think that's the quickest way that I could sort of lay out my growth. Right. And it's all kind of been sports sponsorship, sports marketing. And now I get to do it from the other side of the table as the brand, as well as, so I get pitches every day. Like, I need to sponsor this person, this thing, this event, or be in this magazine, be on this television show. And at the same time, I'm selling, for the race team. So it's a really unique side. We're small, so we're nimble, and we're not in straight verticals. We kind of cross over, but yeah, it's exciting. It's a fun job.
So Sherco as a company has been around for some time, and now this department that you're leading is kind of like a spin-off or something like that. Can you, what's the story behind the motorcycle division? Great question.
So Sherco was founded in 1998 in Nimes, France, and Barcelona, Spain. The brand Sherco, you might see on my shirt, the co is from the famous Spanish motorcycle brand called Bultaco, a very famous brand. And then the Sher was part of one of their models. It was called the Bultaco Sherpa Model T. And so the name Sherco was just a blend of Sherpa and Bultaco. So that's where all the motorcycles are manufactured. Just like if you, back in the day when Mercedes-Benz was manufactured in the United States, in Germany, imported to the United States and then sold to dealerships. Same funnel for us. Manufactured in Europe, come over in containers. Our job, we're Sherco USA, so we manage the sales, marketing, operations in the United States, and we also handle the parts for Canada, but that will change, and we'll just focus on United States solely here. So we're actually a subsidiary of the parent company.
Wow, that's cool. So obviously now, with big brands like Red Bull, Progressive Insurance, and Motul, you have become kind of a household name, especially with your rider kind of came first, like a world champion, like a Cody
Yeah.
Webb is a world champion now, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
so you guys are kind of well known now, but this was not the case just a few years ago, right? Just like pre-pandemic, you guys were just kind of starting out in the US. Talk to me a little bit
Yeah.
about the history when you first entered into the US market, and how that growth, like how fast you guys have been growing since then.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks. That's a good question. So, as I mentioned, I started June of 2019. Before I started under the new ownership, there was two importers, one with it's a segment called Trials Motorcycle, and then Enduro, and they were completely separate from one another. France finally said, we need to bring the United States together. We need one entity that's taking this on and growing the brand. I think combined, the two importers were selling about 250 motorcycles a year. So very, very niche, very, we were considered high-end brand at the time, but you couldn't find them outside of basically a radius around where those importers were. So in steps in the new ownership, hires a proper team, a sales team, a marketing team, and such. And then the race team immediately elevated our credibility brand. I could tell you that, like I said, 3 weeks before I took the job, I didn't know the brand. I did not know the brand name. I didn't know the bikes existed. So that was my number one challenge. As you look at the marketing paradigm of, fill the funnel, making a purchasing decision, buying, customer service, and loyalty. I mean, that funnel was so small in the beginning. I had no one. I could ask 10 avid motorcycle enthusiasts if they've ever heard of Sherco. Maybe one or two would say, oh yeah, isn't that Trials brand? So my job was then, okay, I need to 100% get brand awareness out there. So I went to all the, very, very targeted, the dirt bike magazines, cycle news magazines, there's the typical stuff. But the race team instantly gave us credibility, hiring Cody Webb away from factory KTM. KTM, if you don't know, is sort of I think they're 110 years of history ahead of us, just a ton of money. Budgets are, just through the roof. So that was a big coup from the beginning. And boy, the word spread like wildfire. Like, who is this Sherco brand? What are they doing? How's it, And Cody has gone out and knocking on wood on every, national competition here. He's been on the podium. He's a fan favorite with the media, with fans. So they're taking photos of him and putting him in the magazine. Dirt bike magazine covers, cycle new magazine covers. And so now people are starting to see the brand more and more. And we're working with partners, as you mentioned, like Progressive Insurance. And we're literally in the final day of a promotion that's driven 15,000 pieces of data for our partners, just again, using our partners to help drive a brand message. So we have partners that are very active marketing wise. So they're spending the money on the sponsorship, but then they're spending the money on the activation, taking it to market. And again, just so in 2019, we were on this wildfire shoot, and then the pandemic hit and we were all panicked. But believe it or not, motorcycle sales, we were just begging France for get us more motorcycles. We cannot keep up with the demand, instant credibility, instant demand. And it's kind of been that way ever since that moment. And in our first year, we won the National Enduro Championship. We won the Hard Enduro Championship. We were second place in Enduro Cross. So these competitions, again, that people are saying your bikes won't even finish the race, and here we are proving them with championships. So it's been a key piece to our marketing growth, to our brand awareness.
So how many cars are you guys selling now? From when you first started, 250 motorcycles.
Yep.
Now you guys can't even keep up with the demand. So
and it's still a small
selling now.
Yeah, it's still a small number when you think about the total. This will be like KTM's maybe monthly number because they have more product offerings. So we're above 3,000 units right now for this 2023 model year, which started in July. Model years for motorcycles, really weird. They start in the summer of the year prior. So, going from 250, I think we're at 586, then we were just at 1,000 or just over 1,000, and then 2,000 something, now 3,000. So the growth
now
is 3, there, and we still have a waiting list of probably 46 dealers. The last I heard was yesterday, 46 dealers that would like to sell Sherco. We just don't have the product for them yet. So demand, we've created this huge demand, and so going from 250 in what would have been the 2019 model year to the 2023 model year, we're over 3,000. And that's just motorcycles. Now we have more motorcycles in the wild. So now we're selling tons of parts because you break things. Let's face it, dirt bikes, you break things. And that's all we are. We don't have an on-road motorcycle. We're just registered for off-road only. So trail riding is a good way to think of it. Some people do use them on motocross tracks and things, and then trials. So you break things, you break levers, you need to replace pistons, so the part sales is actually a big revenue generator for us just because of the margins that are involved with parts. So and that's kind of our growth, and our projections are just through the roof. We keep almost doubling every year, and then with the addition of new products like on-road products, it's going to be crazy. Yep.
So 250, now 3,000. Almost 10x growth, more than 10x growth. You talked a little bit about Cody Webb being a major factor. What were some of the other? Actually, before we talk about the other keys of growth, I'm curious. Cody Webb, like, what's the marketing behind? Like, how do you even get? I'm very new to this scene, obviously. Like, how do you get a racer like Cody Webb, or it just got lucky you guys recruited him and he just so happened to be one of the best? Or was it like a very long process trying to get Cody Webb from a different team?
Yeah, unfortunately, it was not. Fortunately, it was not a long process, and we had a little bit of history on our side. So a little bit of both of what you're saying. So you heard me mention trials. That's where Cody got his start.
Trials, yeah.
And he actually did ride Sherco Trials motorcycles because they were premium trials motorcycle, and he won the United States Trials Championship in 2010 on a Sherco with the old importer. This gentleman that had been there for a long time. He then starts winning all these endurocross things, and he's the only American to podium the very famous Red Bull Erzberg rodeo over in Austria. And so he went to Beta, then KTM throws a lot of money at him, and this is a true story. You may not, it sounds kind of funny, but true story. Being in the off-road program, he felt like he was the bottom of the totem pole compared to, they had just introduced the MotoGP platform. He got married the same month as one of their MotoGP pilots. And he said to me, one of the reasons why I want to come and join Sherco and grow the brand is because that month we got married, or it's like the same week, they gave the MotoGP rider a $70,000 motorcycle as a wedding present. He said they didn't even give me a thumbs up on my Instagram post or my Facebook post.
Wow.
So it kind of was like this, man, they just don't care. And he mentioned that he wanted to go on a week-long adventure bike ride and just borrow a motorcycle and document it. He's great with his GoPros and films and things, and they turned him down, and he just felt like they don't care. So he wanted to come to a brand that cares. He's a mechanical engineer by degree, and from San Jose State University. And his application from not only a rider, but a marketer of his own brand, and the things that he could tell us about the motorcycle, we're able to apply to the motorcycle and make it even better. So that's a great question. And just we're thankful to have him. He's a little bit older, but he's just this, he's the kind of person you'd want as a brand representative, well-spoken, family man, is never going to get in trouble. He's not a prima donna. He just goes out and does what he's supposed to do. And with that, he's just been a great brand ambassador for us. And personally, he's sold a lot of Shercos because of his switch. So, yep. Yeah. So super.
Just brand awareness was super
instant.
important from the brand awareness. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what were some of the other keys to growth? I mean, 10x, more than 10x growth. What do you think were like the top maybe 2 or 3 keys to growth for Sherco over the last few years?
Number one, Cody Webb and the race team. Number one. That's my
Number one.
big number one. And I tell the ownership
Okay.
that, your multi-million-dollar investment in a race team is really a multi-million-dollar investment in marketing, because we're getting in the magazines, we're getting on the covers, we're, all the social and digital vloggers, bloggers, you name it, are covering it. And when I sent the press release under embargo, the response that I got from that was like, holy cow, you've got to be kidding. This is massive. So that was number one for our credibility and brand awareness. Number one. Number two was grassroots. We had to get into the communities where people were, because they've never seen the bike. Okay, Cody's riding it. He's paid to ride it. Great. Of course he's going to say great things. But when we got into the communities and people were able to, swing a leg over, as we call it, and ride the bike, they were pretty much sold on the spot. I did demos myself. As I said, we're a very small team. So I did a few here in Texas, and I'd have people come back shaking their head. And I'm like, oh no, what happened? Did he flat tire? Did something break? And I said, what's wrong? He's like, oh, no, nothing's wrong. I just need to buy one of these today. So number two for us is certainly that grassroots, because people said, okay, great. Are they ride them, then they're great. And then the third sort of challenge and actually which helps us was people were concerned that, okay, new brand, do you have the parts? Do you have this? Because if I buy it, my local dealer is still 2.5 hours away from me, because we went from 20 dealers to over 80. We're like 86 right now. And the United States is a very big country. So I would go to the warehouse and I would literally film aisle after aisle after aisle of parts. I said, is there any question that we don't have the parts, because we have 6 months? And then really being edgy with some of the creative that I had produced for magazines and things. And one of them in particular, which kind of went viral in the dirt bike scene, was one where there's a Sherco in the front and then there's a bunch of sheep kind of in the background. And it just said, don't follow the herd. And then people were taking it and coloring the sheep orange, KTM orange, and like, look at this. And so a little bit of edgy marketing on top of it. And just, again, making sure that where people were seeing dirt bikes and that I was there. And if my competition was there, I needed to be there. I kind of dubbed it forced marketing, but it's true. Even though my budgets are so small, I need to be in those places. Yeah. So number one, Cody Webb. Number two, grassroots. Number three, traditional marketing, being in the places that have a high propensity for my consumer. So those would be my top three for sure. And it just took us from here to here quickly, from a brand awareness and then, purchasing. So yeah, that's a great question.
So give us an idea, give us a sense of, because before you joined, there was not a lot of investment in the bike races. You mentioned there was a lot of sponsoring in the trial runs. Is there like a cost differential if you're sponsoring trial runs versus the actual bike races? Did that also play a factor into like the whole brand awareness?
It does. So trials is a very niche vertical within off-road motorcycles. You go to there is a national series. It's typically 8 rounds around the country, 4 in the East, 4 in the West. And it still costs a lot of money to go to those places. But when you look at a competition, there's probably 100 to 150 total competitors. Whereas on the off-road, on the enduro, on the big dirt bike side of things, you can go to a race like GNCC, where the pros are rows 1, 2, 3, and then you have 1,000 people is about the minimum that a GNCC will see, and then the other places. So to answer your question, trials is a necessary for us, because that's where the brand got its start. We have the 13-time United States Trials champion Pat Smaggi on our team, and he rides on the enduro side as well. So cost being a factor, it was more so just, it was a necessary thing that we needed to do. And we may have bit off a little more than we could chew year one, kind of going in, head first instead of feet first. And, but it proved itself and transitioned and translated to sales. So that was a good question too. But Yeah, you'll see all OEMs have a racing program because that's where they R&D, that's where they market, that's where they, if somebody wins the next, Monday Cycle News magazine has a spread of, look at our bike just won, and I've done it too. So it's a necessary evil for sure.
So with an investment that big, I assume it's not a cheap, investment to sponsor these races. How do you, first of all, like, how did you get did you have to get approval to get this investment? Was it like a huge negotiation and um, like process that you had to go through a lot of hoops to even get this funding? And then secondly, how do you measure the return of that? How do you attribute like, okay, we invested, call it 1 million or 2 million or whatever it is, but then we got 5 million back from it? How do you measure the return for these types of big investments?
That is such a great question, and one I wish I had the answer, because I'd be a millionaire showing every OEM how we could measure that directly. I wish I could say, because we raced in the U.S. Hard Enduro Series, that when we were in northern Idaho for the Silver Kings, which is a really big race, there's 600 athletes in that one, plus all the fans and things, and I would love to say, yeah, look at us, look at those dealers in that area, or look at this spike that we saw because of that. But because you're looking at an 11 to 12, maybe $13,000 motorcycle, sometimes it takes months for that purchasing decision. So there's really not a direct way.
Right.
The only ways that I've been able to do it is just through traditional marketing, using QR codes, and that way I can see where leads are going and who's buying and things. So and how many people are paying attention to that. So that's a really, really tough nut to crack. I wish I had I knew, because forming the race team, as in motorsports, I learned this when I worked at Circuit of the Americas. It was kind of the joke on the sports car racing. So the Ferraris, Lamborghinis, BMWs, Porsches, Mercedes, and so on. They say, how do you get somebody to be a millionaire in motorsports? Well, you got to start with 2 million to get to 1, because you're spending so much money. But again, I just look at it as it's a crucial marketing tool for us, because I've said this over and over on this call, but I've never been on I wouldn't get on the cover of Dirt Bike Magazine or Cycle News, and on the pegs several times and others. So it just, it helps. And every news story on the series that we race within, let alone the one that I actually spend money to sponsor, like Endurocross, which is coming up this fall. Again, they love Cody, so he's usually on the podium, or Pat's usually on the podium, or Louise, our female champions, usually on the podium. And so they feature those. And so it's I call it earned media, even though we're spending on the race team side, it's still earned, because we're getting the shots and the write-ups. So I wish I could say, look, we just sold 200 units because of this particular racing series or something. I can't, unfortunately. Yeah. It's tough.
It's just hard, eh?
Yeah.
So then all the sponsorships, so on the one hand, you're paying a lot of money to get to do sponsoring these races and getting your team there, but on the other hand, you get companies sponsoring you, right? You got brands like Red Bull, Progressive Insurance, and Motul. Is that one of those things where you have to have a winning racer in order to get sponsorships, or is there what's the secret to getting these big brands for sponsorships?
That's a great question, and it was one that was actually posed on LinkedIn in a motorsports professionals group. Like, do you have to be a winning team to get those types of dollars? And my answer is it absolutely helps to be winning, because you're on the cover, because you're on this. Like, our gear company is called FXR. It is brand started in Canada, but they have a big Minnesota office. And so every time we're on the cover, there's FXR in plain view. So they love it. They obviously love it. They're getting that added value from the partnership. And so when you're winning, it definitely helps. But motorsports marketing is way different than your traditional marketing, or even your stick and ball. A lot of people in this industry got stale. They would slap a logo on a bike or a car and say, man, I hope it works for you. Where we can't do that. We can't afford to do that. So you mentioned Progressive Insurance, for example. Yes, they have a logo on the bike. They have the logo on the racers' jerseys and on our pit shirts and things where, everything above the chest for those headshots and interviews. Right. But it goes beyond that. And we worked together on this Cody Webb bike giveaway, which I've been able to turn over. Well, it closes tonight at midnight, but at least 15,000 pieces of key data in a segment that they really want. So, and to them, 10,000 was a win. This is, we're going above the expectation here. Motool being something that everyone uses in dirt bikes or cars and things, it's more of an easier sell. Even if you're not winning, you still have an OEM product that is being sold to a consumer. So that's where you don't necessarily have to be the winner, but showing that, hey, this is the product they use in Shercos. It's the recommended lubricant. So I'm going to my dealer and I'm using what the race team uses because, I'm not an expert. They're the experts. And so it's a little of both, but definitely helps to win. But you have to be creative. And I kind of got off the topic here, but you have to be creative. You have to use your athletes. They're sitting there in the pits and they're just hanging on their water bottle. Or here's a sponsor. Hammer Nutrition is a sponsor of ours, right? And so they're just sitting there, and it's overtly commercial, but it's not, because we're not sitting there going, yeah, I drink Hammer energy products, right? Instead, they're just sipping a water bottle. And so, it's not overtly commercial, but it is at the same time. And so we try to be creative and sort of product position things within shots that are our sponsors. And, we always try to get them where the tray of the Hammer gels and nutrition and stuff is, or the VP racing fuel happens to be in the picture and we talk about it, or, doing technical things for our consumers. And again, using the race team side to do that. And that helps bring in the dollars. And if
you're a company like Motul and Progressive Insurance, and you kind of invested, kind of really it's a partnership, right? Because you guys are also growing from 250 motorcycles to 3,000 motorcycles. That means you guys are taking up market share in your market, and Motul benefits from that, and Progressive Insurance as well, right?
The more motorcycles we have in the wild, the more motorcycles we have in the wild, the better. So if it's 3,000 this year plus the 2,000 some last year plus the 1,000 some, that means, so now we have, our growth is happening. We're becoming a thorn in the side of some other manufacturers because they're seeing, less sales or at least in the key categories where we are. And you're right. Now Progressive offers a bundle for $79 to protect your investment. It's well worth it, because I've heard stories of someone, their van caught on fire, lost everything. They even insured the gear that was in there. So everything. So and they want to be the official and embed themselves with the Sherco brand from, early doors and just kind of rise, so it's been fun to see people take not a chance with us because they see our growth, but to invest in us and grow alongside of us and help us grow. I mean, here's another great example of Progressive, Cody Webb. They're the sponsor of Sturgis, the huge motorcycle rally. 450,000 motorcycles descend upon this tiny town in South Dakota. And they invited myself and Cody to come up. They used Cody in a 4 video series on Sturgis, the history, the what to do and so forth. And we came in for 4 days of filming, and that they could have used any other ambassador, and they chose to use Sherco, tiny Sherco, and Cody Webb in this. And just, those types of brand partnerships, because you mentioned it is a partnership, and he got to go on stage, do a circle wheelie, tossed his helmet into the crowd, and they all went crazy. So it was a good brand moment for us. And those partnerships, truly, when they are partnerships, it's cool to see how they go both ways.
Exactly. One last area, and then maybe we'll have to, unfortunately, we'll have to wrap up.
No worries.
Such cool conversations talking about motorcycles. But you talked a little bit about grassroots marketing and getting into the communities and doing social media campaigns and edgy marketing. I was just curious, which channels are you guys using right now, and where do you see the best engagement with your audience?
Yeah, we're heaviest on Instagram. We seem to find the data shows that our owners are typically using Instagram. Snapchat's for a little younger audience. We're a more premium brand. While we do have 18 to 56, it's typically that 30-year-old plus and with a disposable income. So we lean Instagram. Right. We started with just Facebook, and we're quite effective with that, but it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, which is just sort of getting off the ground. Usually our athletes post more, and we just share the athlete side from YouTube. And then grassroots, it's literally getting the trailers packed up, and we go to dealerships and do engagements in the community, let people test ride. And so those are typically very effective. We do see the direct sales from the demo events, but my Instagram following's at almost 17.4 thousand over the last 2 years, and it's all been organic. I just did my first paid ads just to support the Progressive campaign. And I think I spent a total of $200. So it's all been organic. It's literally people just following and Cody Webb tagging us and Pat Smodgy and Louise tagging us and just seeing that growth that way. And same.
Anything on TikTok?
We haven't got into TikTok yet. You're looking at a guy who's about to turn 48 that's managing that as well. So I need to hire my teenage kids to get into the TikTok side. So it's just so much to manage, and we have an aftermarket parts store as well. So I'm managing that, and just I don't have enough hours in the day, but I'd like to. I really like to.
Food for thought. I think in the early days, TikTok was always young. It was always known as a younger audience. But as the platform has been growing and aging, so has a user base. And a lot of reports coming out, but might be something worth considering.
You're definitely onto something, because one of our partners, XC Gear, he's my age, and he's over at the ISDE. It's the largest enduro, and it happens every year. It's called 6 days. And, he's sharing everything, even on his Instagram. He's sharing his TikTok to Instagram stories. So it's definitely something that's been on the radar, and understanding that people are definitely behind it. So we do have a small Twitter account as well, but starting to grow that. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, Brian, thanks so much for joining. The hot sauce was amazing. It was literally in my throat for the first 15 minutes.
I'm telling you, it's still on my lips. It's still on my lips. So.
So for the listeners that are curious, what's to look forward? What should we look forward to for the next 6 months? Any cool campaigns or big milestones or things that we should be looking out for?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So for us, we finished with the indoor season of racing, which is it's going to be a good one this year. A lot of European-based riders are coming over, so it'll be a fun challenge. I will use a lot of action, not only photos but video from that. We'll create some cool content from that over the next few months, and then from Sherco as a brand, we have a few new products coming out for the 2024 model year, which again is usually a July-August calendar year. So. Really excited for these new products, and then shortly behind, I can't disclose what it is, but some other new products that are going to again take us up another level. So I'm really excited for what's to come, and like I said, unfortunately, I can't disclose it all to everybody right now, but it'll be fun, and our growth is we're looking forward to it. So.
Yeah, sweet. Well, looking forward to doing round 2 with you. Maybe we'll get some spicier sauce.
I'll go spicier. I feel like a little baby. I'm sorry.
We'll do it. We'll do it next time. But looking forward to our next conversation. Thank you so much for joining.
You bet. Thank you for having me. Cheers.
Okay.